Well, I'm sitting here perched perilously on a rock in Hyde Park with William Powers, who is from Cape Cod and the author of the new book Hamlet's Blackberry, which warns us, doesn't it, William, about the dangers of digital maximalism?
Yes, which is a mouthful.
And screen addiction in the internet age.
Yes.
So you're here promoting the book. You've been around the country. You're going to Brisbane on Sunday for the Writers' Festival.
Right.
But apart from going out and buying the book, what is happening to us with the internet and all these devices? Are we really becoming hopelessly addicted?
I think that we are addicted at the moment, and I think it's a problem. I wrote the book to raise consciousness about the downside of spending too much time with these technologies. But it's a funny moment because we have to bear in mind the promise of digital is still there and all the potential. And I think this revolution is fantastic. I just think we're not navigating it as wisely as we might. And walking down the sidewalk, as the most obvious example, with your smartphone implanted in your face, might not be the best way to live in a digital age.
A good way to break your ankle, I think.
Exactly.
But tell me, how are we going to disconnect? It does seem as though the omnipresent digital communications has abolished leisure. It's meant work has taken over everything. We're always online. How do we disconnect?
We have to disconnect by developing a new way of thinking about the devices, which is what I offer in the book. The idea that you have to move back and forth between the digital realm and the rest of life to get the most out of this revolution. You know, there's a great comparison I can make between the telephone. For most of the 20th century, when the telephone rang, people ran to get it. No matter what they were doing, they interrupted conversations, family time, at work. And then someone thought of the answering machine and voicemail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all of a sudden, you didn't have to run and answer the telephone anymore. You could wait for when it was the best time to deal with those messages. And I think we're going to develop strategies and probably technologies that help us do the same thing.
You know, that's a very interesting point, because I remember when I was an investment banker in my own business here with Lucy, we were doing a lot of cross-border work, and I was always getting woken up in the middle of the night with calls from Europe and calls from the United States. And then when I joined Goldman Sachs, a global business, they had a very sophisticated voicemail system. And so people used to communicate by voice messages. This is really before email had completely, taken over. And so I started getting a full night's sleep, and it was a big change.
Exactly. So and it improves your thinking, doesn't it, when you get a full night's sleep? That's the point, is how well are we thinking? How creative are we doing? How are we being? How well are we really connecting?
Okay, now how does Hamlet come into this? Explain that.
So in the book,
because he didn't have a Blackberry.
No, he didn't have a Blackberry. In the book, I go back to 7 moments from the past when we went through a kind of a big shift like this due to technology. One of them is Shakespeare's lifetime, and there is in fact a moment in Hamlet that's about this. Actually, Hamlet pulls a little gadget out of his vest or his doublet, whatever you call it, that was the Blackberry of its time. It was called, he calls it his tables, my tables, he says. And it was a little gadget people used. It was an erasable tablet, the first of its kind, with a metal stylus. And people in Shakespeare's lifetime found this so useful that they talked about being addicted to it.
Right, so that's how they could make notes.
They could make notes, to-do lists, things they wanted to remember, and the beauty of it was in the age of print, when information was piling up everywhere and people had trouble keeping up with information, this was a way of writing information down and then making it go away because it was erasable. So they loved how useful that was, and many people, we don't know if Shakespeare himself had one, but he probably did because all of his contemporaries did.
Sounds like an early version of a Palm Pilot.
Yeah, it was like the Renaissance Palm Pilot. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So just, William, you're 50 years of age, although much to my chagrin, you look much, much younger than that.
Thank you.
But this is owing to your healthy life in New England. But you've worked for a US Senator, and you've been a journalist with the Washington Post, so you're very familiar with US politics. What's your take on the current political scene in the United States?
I think it is one of the biggest question marks in American political history right now, where nobody can really say what's going to happen next. The country feels, the society feels really adrift, economically, politically, in many levels. It feels like people don't know where we're headed next. And if you look at the two parties, Obama's leadership is really in question now. He doesn't feel like he's been the leader Democrats expected him to be, never mind everybody else. And on the Republican side, it's not at all clear who is going to emerge as the next would-be leader. And so it feels like we're about to set off on this journey, but nobody has any idea where it's heading.
Well, things aren't much better here, as you've probably gathered.
It feels like a very happy society here, I have to tell you. I'm kind of envious.
Well, no, it's a happy society, but we've got a very uncertain political environment.
Politically, yes, I'm aware of that, yes.
All right, well, William, great to talk to you, and
Thank
good
you.
luck, and hope you sell lots of Hamlet's Blackberry. Now, you said earlier to me that you think you're selling more as ebooks on Kindles and iPads, etc., than you are as hard copy. Is that right?
From the beginning, my publisher told me that I had an unusually high percentage of ebooks, and at one point even said it might be exceeding the hard copy. I don't have the hard numbers, but it has done very well on ebooks, and I think the reason is that a lot of my readers are actually people who are so connected that they're looking for another way of thinking.
Well, they're
about
addicts.
it.
They're addicts, and they're looking to you to free them from their addiction.
Exactly. I mean, one of my surprises in talking about the book was that I was invited to go speak at places like Google and Facebook, the last places I expected. But those people are so connected, they're also struggling with this.
So you think you should be as welcome at Google as a temperance advocate would be in a brewery.
Yeah, but it wound up not happening. I was thrilled.
Okay, fantastic, William.
Thank
Good
you
to see
so
you.
much. I
Good luck.
enjoyed it. Thank you.